We'll start.
Unfortunately, I kicked people out of the meeting. I did not mean to do that. Is that on? Yes, it's on.
His eyes are blinking.
It's not showing up
people
on my.
online.
There were two people and I had to kick them out to restart it because it wasn't giving me the record option. And it's not letting me connect to the owl. Try this again. Sorry, owl. This again. I've never had this much trouble with this. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Well, it's recording, but it's not using the owl.
It's recording.
Yeah. And I kicked people out of the meeting, so hopefully they can get back in. Hmm? Yeah, it's not even showing up on my system though. It's not showing up at all.
The owl recording.
The owl is not, but the computer is. Let me try. It's not even showing up at all in my settings. It's just gonna have to be from the computer. I'm gonna record just in case.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's support people down this. Okay, roll call. Recognition of visitors.
Greg Bradley.
Yep.
Albert Keys. Tom Backers. Christine Johnson here. Joanne Childs. And 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Disclosure of conflicts. I have none. Yeah, none.
I have none.
Approval of the agenda.
The only thing I would like to add is number 8, that public comment closed session.
And who requested this?
I did,
Okay. For
disciplinary action.
I also need to add the approval of the L4029 as amended.
okay, so that would be under B. Would be the 4th item.
Under maintenance issues.
After disposition of parks and employee.
Oh, okay.
Unless you want to put it under a, ordinance 22 amendments.
We can just be a special order of business C.
See, okay. What do you call it? What do you call
L 4029.
it? At township taxable value, I guess, incorrect, no, it's when we turned in.
So we have to officially approve the amended.
Okay. Special orders of business. The STR review,
I would make a motion to approve the agenda.
yeah, that would be. A good idea. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, what we're gonna do. Basically, a lot of this was housekeeping.
Mr. Chair, if I may. I've talked to some citizens and I've also talked to the chair for the planning commission. I make a motion that we send this back down to the planning commission. To be looked at by a new set of eyes. We got 3 new personnel down there. There's a lot of loopholes in this thing still. And my recommendation is send it back to the planning commission.
I'll second that.
And as to Mr. Chair, you're willing to entertain.
Motion on the floor. Motion on
It's
the floor.
been seconded. Would we have discussion?
I did. Okay.
I got that.
All right, this has been sent back to the planning commission twice. Okay, and rebuilt from the ground up. It's been over 2 years. Oh, in my view, any more foot dragging is just, first of all, you're not going to be able to get it put together for next summer. So I'm in favor of getting this done, basically holding a public hearing and moving on from there.
In my opinion, I went through the entire thing yesterday and I still found multiple things that need edited.
Okay.
So it's not ready to approve today, and it's not going to be ready to approve today. Also, I feel like since there is a new board coming in and this is going to be thrown on their lap to handle, that they should have the opportunity to go through it as well.
Okay, good point. Because it will end up. Yeah, it's gonna end up on somebody else's table. Right. Okay. Anybody else?
So roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Joanne Childs,
On the vote. On the motion, yeah. Sorry.
Albert Keys,
Yes.
Greg Bradley,
Yeah.
Christine Johnson, yes. Tom Backers.
Okay, well, I can't abstain. Oh, yes. Mr.
Okay,
Packer, it's in balls in your court.
back to you.
Okay. Thanks for the STR review. Do we want to go through this and change most of the red letters anyway, or just leave it?
I think we leave it for the planning commission. They've got copies of this, or they will have copies of it.
Like they
And I can share with you my edits. So everybody that came for short-term rental,
Okay, also be advised,
sorry,
Packer, that you will have to modify the zoning ordinance 22 to insert short-term rentals as legal in all land use districts.
Good.
Okay. Maintenance issues, federal requirements, this way. All right. Concerning our Heritage Park maintenance employee. I all got copy that I did email to you. Okay, we had a positive result on a drug test, which created a problem. All right, so the first thing I did was contact the lawyer, township lawyer, and the insurance agent. Insurance agent sent me this, which is state of compliance for this is a federal position on drug and alcohol. Statement of compliance. The Federal Drug Free Workplace Act of 1988 is applicable to all recipients of federal grants. ARPA funds. Okay, we've been spending. All right. The municipality must certify to the granting federal agency that it will provide a drug-free workplace in accordance with the legislation. That's what you see in front of you. So that involves Mr. Lund, which we will get to in a minute. But the first thing I want to do is have the board discuss and officially adopt the drug-free workplace federal rules here.
Isn't this pretty much the same as what is in the employee policy?
Right,
Okay.
right, but this makes it official.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I move we
There's a, just something for discussion.
I would like to make a motion that we adopt this policy.
What's wrong with this? You just handed that out. Some of the board members want to discuss it and you don't want to discuss it. They should have had this a week ago.
They did have it a week ago. The board did. Okay, so, but what we will get to the discussion on the motion. Do I have a second?
Motion to about. Sorry, I'm writing this down. Just need a second before I.
So basically, we would fill in the blank here and make this part of the personnel policy. Is the point.
Why can't this wait until next, our main meeting, Thursday? The third Thursday of the month.
Would that be amending the current wording of this policy?
Amending it.
I mean, I looked at it and it is pretty much the same. I don't know what's different on here than what's already in there,
Okay.
because I didn't bring that with me. That's kind of a discussion, but
Anyway,
I would second that motion.
anyway. So now.
Because I have
input
read
from
this.
the board.
Yeah.
You said our language, and I was tied up with the short-term rental thing, so
Right.
I didn't get into the township policy per se.
I have that in here.
Now, the one thing that this might provide a sticking point for also is the implementation of the policy. If you read it, this policy will be distributed to all employees and officials of the municipality. I believe would affect some, or one at least,
So is the plan to do drug test on everyone who gets a check from the township?
that would be an option, yes.
Is there an option to do random test instead of?
That would be the board policy.
Well, a lot of this, I mean, this is federal, I realize that, but in the state, it's legal, right?
No, I understand that.
So we're throwing illegal controlled substance in here, when in the state, it actually is not, no longer true.
It is still a federally controlled substance.
Federal law still considers it.
So,
A controlled substance.
I mean,
Controls.
common sense needs to apply here too, though.
Okay, well, that's why it's in front of us. Okay,
So I'm looking at the employee policy and it does have the initial statement of compliance, but it doesn't have the rest of this, the policy statement, the implementation, the sanctions, all of the rest of this is not in this policy.
so the question is, do we make this federal drug-free workplace rule part of the township personnel policy?
Just make this an amendment to what we have.
Right.
It already is part of the policy, but it just, the employee policy does not have all of this wording in
Right.
it. It only has the initial statement of compliance.
But like I'm saying,
Yeah,
this is for
So,
federal.
I
money.
can
This
see,
this
yeah,
affects
it-
Federal money.
since we already have this policy in our employee policy, we should include all
this
of
as a
this wording.
reference.
That's right. This should be an amendment to what we
Right.
have.
Yeah.
Or addition to.
In addition to,
So is that the way I worded my motion? I don't think so.
no, it's to adopt the drug-free workplace as part of the personnel policy, which it already is part of the personnel policy. And that was created in 2015.
Okay, so we would have to basically reword the motion, amend the motion.
Okay,
To include the federal drug-free workplace policy. So here's what we've got. Motion to, actually what it should read is a motion to amend the township personnel policy to include the federal drug-free workplace policy. Leaders don't follow it.
okay.
Second on the motion to as amended.
I will second that as amended.
Okay. Any further discussion?
You want to read that back to us, what you got written down here?
The motion was amended to, motion to amend the township personnel policy to include the federal drug-free workplace policy.
Okay.
And seconded by myself, motion by Backers.
So this means that when a person goes to a doctor and gets on stuff, then they have to report within so many days to the township board if they are on this certain drug and they should not work on that day or the week, right?
That's not what I'm reading.
Or is this just, we're just talking, it says a drug-free.
They're saying the doctor issued them a prescription that said that they couldn't work or whatnot.
Okay,
yeah, that
what I'm
would-
saying is, anyone who gets on any medication that could impair them, and they work for the township, need to report that back to the township. That they are on this medication.
Right, report that back to the clerk.
Well, clerk, that they're on this medication, and that includes our that. our
That would
maintenance,
include any
our-
prescription controlled substance. Which-
And that includes all employees, everybody's getting a check.
Right,
Right?
and according to this, all the officials. Would be us.
And in that case too, besides that, you're gonna have to put a clause in there for random, because from what I understand, there's a way for people to take drugs, get it out of their system before they're scheduled to do their drug test. So we're still gonna have it. When, in regards to marijuana, in regards to the marijuana that's legal in Michigan, how's
So
this gonna affect us?
Random testing would be a separate issue with the township personnel policy. We could put that on the agenda for next. What is it, the 17th? Next meeting,
Mhm.
Last.
October 17th, random drug test.
I just see a great expense for, if a person is impaired on the job, yes. And there's a significant reason to do something because they're on the job. Otherwise, this is gonna be lawsuits.
Have
it's
you,
gonna be
did you
money.
read this?
I read right now, I read on the computer.
Okay.
But this is,
What I'm reading is not what you're saying.
okay,
This is saying that they will not manufacture, distribute, dispense, possess, or use a controlled substance in the workplace and work sites. It doesn't say anything about testing. But it
So
does
it's on
say
their
that,
honor.
it does say that they won't use on the workplace or
Okay.
work site.
So they're not taking it actually, like we come to a meeting, we're not gonna use it in the meeting personally, that's what. To me,
Yeah,
it's kind
For
of,
us. I don't know.
very complicated.
It is complicated. I mean,
Well, that,
I think it's a more than, I mean, we all know that it's legal, it's being used in the state. Crying out loud. Somebody smokes a frickin' joint the day before he has to do his job or whatever. I mean, medically, you know, for symptoms or whatever the case may be, he should be able to be allowed to do his job. I mean, it's pretty, I mean, it goes back to common sense. No, you can't go.
no, I understand that.
All stoned and all hungover or whatever. The same thing goes for alcohol. You know,
Mhm.
I
could that
understand
be
that too.
considered a drug? You
Absolutely.
know, so, you know, we wanna beat this. In this instant, maintenance personnel. You know, for doing something that's helping them. You know, and my belief, it's totally wrong.
Mhm.
If we wanna vote on this, I'm fine with that too. There's a motion on the floor, so.
Okay, well,
Can I say something?
it's not public comment.
Not yet.
not yet. But. Go ahead, you got 30 seconds.
What we're talking about here is whether or not you're impaired on the job.
The
No,
motion is
what this
about
says
adopting the
Is use,
policy.
period.
On the
Okay,
job, with
Now-
use,
gee,
not on the impairment.
State of Michigan don't do it, we should never do it if they can. Keep it lawful.
now, notice under sanctions, it also says the unlawful manufacture, distribution, or possession or use.
The practice of
Now,
medicine from the table.
In Michigan, it's lawful.
Mhm.
according to the federal regulations, it isn't. That's the issue.
Well, that doesn't mean we have to adopt this. We already have something similar or close to,
Okay.
so I don't see why we have to adopt it.
Because we are in possession of federal funds.
Well, that's not, that hasn't changed, it's been like that for how many years?
2 years
So,
since COVID.
Had grants in the past. Where you've been in possession.
Now, according to legal, it's also a sticky situation, but the insurance company will not insure. And
This policy is not simply and strictly about cannabis. This is about a drug-free workplace. It's about our protection as a township.
But is it gonna be
It's no-
used differently?
What do you
You know-
mean?
you
It's
know when you
already,
have-
it's already the
Yeah.
policy. It's already in the employee
I'm just-
policy.
Why is it coming up right now?
It's just clarifying the wording that's in our policy.
and basically,
The very first sentence under alcohol, drug and controlled substance in our personnel policy manual is the exact same statement of
Okay.
compliance. It also has the second sanctions paragraph in there already. It has
the notification,
the employee responsibility is in there. The thing it doesn't have is dangers of drug abuse in the workplace. A drug-free awareness program, which Mr. LaFew told us that we needed to implement. Because if you're gonna have this policy, we need to have the whole policy, not just
Right.
the cut and paste. That's what he told us at the last meeting. This is the whole policy.
Okay, drugs were found in the maintenance truck.
Mhm.
What does that say? They were underneath.
And the
paperwork
maintenance
in-
employees were immediately tested.
Okay, but it was in the truck.
Mhm.
We don't even know what that substance was because we never got a report back from the sheriff's department on that. So I don't understand how this is all
tested
gonna
positive
accomplish anything.
for THC.
What was it?
Tested positive for THC.
Then where'd you get that report? Because the sheriff's department hasn't been able to get it to me.
So that's what the sheriff told me.
He just told you, but it's not a written report that we can get.
So
It was.
ask for it. and
We
it
don't
was-
know how it got in the gun department.
It
Like
was,
powder THC, that doesn't, no, spoon or.
What was that?
the baggie didn't test for anything. The spoon tested for marijuana. I don't know why. That's what I was told.
That's just.
So,
I just don't know why there isn't a report or a lab, because I've FOIA'd for a lab and there's no
so
report.
you're, all right, the discussion is our township policy is sufficient.
It's 10 years old, you gotta look at that first before you start adding to it. A lot of change in 10 years.
Obviously, if someone's out there mowing and they're drunk, or there should be a problem, but how can we keep testing? How can we keep testing everybody, our employees?
We don't,
We test, upon hire,
Okay,
and then it's random. And that would only be if there were suspicion or reports. So, I mean, that's nothing really
and
changing. That's what we do.
who's gonna be the watch person over everybody?
The board.
Fire department already has that policy. You have an accident or an injury, you go get tested.
Oh, well, that makes sense, yeah.
And we also have the drug-free awareness program. If you have a problem, this board is paid to have the person get clean.
That makes sense.
So the only thing that's missing in this is adoption by the board.
Hmm.
I mean, we've already done most of this stuff
right,
without being included. in it.
But all this does is recognize the federal drug policy. That's basically all it does. Okay, because we are in receipt of federal money, and I would assume down the road. That other grants would be applied for. Concerning federal funds,
Where did
which
this,
would have to include.
this came from the attorney?
Federal grants, right?
Getting from the insurance
Oh,
problem.
this came from the insurance company.
So, anyway, any other discussion? There's a motion on the table to amend the township policy to include this. Roll call vote, please.
Greg Bradley,
Yes.
Tom Backers,
Yes,
Joanne Childs,
Only because we're getting grants, I just think it's gonna be a big hassle.
is that a yes?
Yes.
Albert Keys,
No,
Christine Johnson, yes.
okay, so township personnel policy manual will be amended to include.
All of this language. Okay.
Keep that on the word. Okay, disposition then of, Mr. Lund. Okay, the position was seasonal. Basically, the season's over. I don't know if we, want to continue the suspension of Mr. Lund or basically terminate his employment according to this. So I will entertain a motion for either.
You made a motion to what?
First off, that doesn't take effect now, does it? That policy.
Township employment or
How long before it takes
township drug-free policy precludes him anyway. It's in existence. What can I say? It's,
I'd like to know if Mr. Lund has a medical, license.
I understand that. He's legal as far as the state of Michigan is concerned. He's illegal as far as the federal government is concerned. That's the issue.
So what you're saying there, if we was to get federal funds for that, for the parks, we'd be not compliant. Right?
Right.
You're still not defining this right. Marijuana in your system doesn't mean you're impaired. This law applies to being impaired on the job.
No, it doesn't. It applies to being drug-free.
Alcohol free too.
True.
Have you ever tested for alcohol? Ever tested for alcohol? No.
You take a drug test, alcohol's gonna show up anyway.
The state of Michigan, a year ago, testing their employees for more than 50,000 employees. They're getting all kinds of government money. They're also raking in billions of dollars to the tune of like $80 billion a year in marijuana sales. And you're gonna say that it's illegal for him to have it in the system when the state of Michigan is collecting billions?
All right,
I would make a motion that we reinstate Mr. Lund, until the end of October.
I'll second that.
That'd be October 31st.
I'll second that.
I don't know if anybody's been down there, but he's doing a heck of a job down there.
Yeah.
I don't.
And the problems in the discussion part of this, the problem's gonna be Parks is working really hard to make a big difference down there. And we finally have hope with Mr. Lund coming back Cause he knows things about it that nothing's been passed down from maintenance to maintenance. Now we know. We've been hauling water. We've been spending lots of money, time hauling water, and there was water there all the time. Mr. Lund comes back and he wants to restore Heritage Park. We have not had ball there. There are dugouts that haven't been cleaned since Jeff and I cleaned them when the first maintenance man left. There's just so much stuff that needs to be done, and Parks is finally encouraged that something is gonna be done, and you wanna fire the guy. How's that gonna look? These people, these Parks people are volunteers.
Don't put words in my mouth, madam. We have an issue.
I think that was a general statement.
Yeah, it was just a discussion.
I don't think it was personal.
I think.
Every one of us on this board voted to approve the hiring of Mr. Lund.
Okay.
We all approved it.
Okay.
We all voted yes. The issue is not whether Mr. Lund is doing a wonderful job at Heritage Park or what Heritage Park needs. The issue is, do we have a liability problem?
Was he impaired?
Do we have a liability? Is our insurance going
If he
to cover
cannot be
anything?
insured.
What I read is if they're impaired, they're in trouble. We're in trouble. But if they're not impaired, how would you know? How would you know?
Okay, there's motion on the table.
Read the
We're still
letter that your
discussing.
Lawyer gave you last week that you gave me and I read. Your lawyer recommends I go back to work
Mhm.
and you watch for impairment. If I'm impaired, then I get sent home.
That's,
If I'm not,
that's true, that's true, but the
That's your life
insurance
advice.
company said if you have an incident, anything that involves, an injury or an accident, that you are not insured, it puts the township.
if you're impaired,
And your level is high enough.
alcohol or drugs, if you're impaired. If you're not impaired and it's in your system, that's not illegal. You can have it in your system, that is not illegal. I did nothing wrong.
I understand that,
You did.
but what I'm trying to say is the legal implications here basically preclude you from being insured, which puts the township at risk if anything happens and you test positive.
And this is why this came up today instead of waiting until Thursday. All we're asking.
That didn't change anything.
Yeah, but this is why this was dug into for the purpose of keeping him from working.
I don't think so. I think it's for the protection of the township, which is our fiduciary responsibility.
You're trying to make this personal. This
It's
is a
not
legal
personal.
issue. It concerns our employment and the township's liability and
Okay.
responsibility to its
I got a
taxpayers.
question. We've got lots of volunteers out there that sign waivers. If they get injured,
They're not hired
but they
employees.
sign, huh?
They're not hired
Our
employees.
employees are volunteers.
Hired employees have to be tested.
Okay,
I just think it's wrong at this time. I think it's manipulation.
there's a motion on the table.
Are we ready to vote?
You wanna read it again?
Motion to reinstate Mr. Lund until October 31st,
Yep.
seconded by Childs.
Roll call vote, please.
Joanne Childs,
Yes.
Craig Bradley,
Oh,
Albert Keys,
Yes.
Tom Backers,
No.
Johnson, no. I think we need to spend more time getting to the bottom of our liability.
Okay,
I don't feel like we have the answers that we need.
I
I don't think we had
move-
enough time to really investigate.
I move to continue Mr. Lund's suspension. Until we get clarification on the legal implications here, both ways.
I don't know why you would continue this suspension. I mean, if you need more clarification, then why wouldn't you just reinstate him? I don't understand that.
your lawyer recommended that.
Mhm.
Or to continue the suspension. It was both. I read the letter. It was both.
First recommendation, put me back to work.
Let's try and get our ducks in a row until we put this thing to bed once and
I mean-
for all, and then we can deal with your employment. But my motion
Do we
is
need to-
continue the suspension for 30 days, which takes you to the end of the temporary season. Which means it will end up being,
When you come back in the spring, hopefully we'll have answers. We'll have a new board. We'll have more information.
What
We'll
you
be
don't
able to-
understand is those ballparks have to be ready in the spring. He's the only one who knows how to do
I
it.
understand that.
That's
and
not the issue,
Well, no,
Joanne.
this is delaying everything. And he's the only maintenance that's been working out there for crying out loud, except for mowing.
My question is, do we need to make the motion to continue the suspension if he's already suspended, nothing changed? So it would just remain as
Well-
is for now.
Basically, it just makes the board's position efficient.
Okay,
I got a question. If he doesn't drive equipment, can he use a paintbrush? Can he put in sprinkler systems?
He's not insured with a paintbrush.
Oh my gosh. This is just ridiculous.
That's the issue. So,
if your daughter or granddaughter gets in trouble, gets caught drinking and driving, okay, and her license is suspended.
We're talking.
Do you,
driving, yeah.
do you let her drive anyways? Because she needs to get to school?
I just asked,
Or do you follow the insurance and the law and say, okay, you're told you can't drive?
no, you follow that law. I'm
Okay,
asking-
that's what we're saying.
I-
That's all we're saying.
Okay, people can drive cars, they can drive a car.
The whole thing is being impaired.
Yeah.
And that's, you guys are missing, you're getting hung up on rules and regulations. Is a gentleman impaired when he's operating this equipment, right? That's what it boils down to.
And
We already
that's-
voted,
Yeah,
I understand that, let's move on.
okay. The motion to just continue the suspension of Mr. Lund.
I will second that.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
All right, Joanne Childs,
No,
Tom Backers,
Yes.
Albert Keys,
No.
Greg Bradley,
Yeah,
oops, and Christine Johnson, yes.
Basically, this is the same policy that fire department.
Yeah, but even the fire
It-
department.
it just means-
Somebody smoked a joint the night before, he ain't gonna know what the hell.
Right.
And
I'm not
not
gonna send him home because.
until there's an incident. that
Yeah,
involves-
until there's a negative drug test and then something has to
But they
happen.
don't- They don't do the drug test when something happens, right?
we do annual. They get an annual drug test.
So they know when it's coming.
Yeah.
can
Well,
we,
they know within 90 days, and it could happen anytime from February, or excuse me, from November to April.
Okay, so
I'd like to make a motion on top of this that we immediately start doing random blood tests or random drug tests. I don't think we wait and tell someone we're gonna do it and you schedule it a week later, so they can clear the stuff out of their system.
You want to make that part of what,
budget for it?
Huh?
You gotta have a budget.
Well, we're working on a budget today, but this needs to be done. Because I am hearing people who do drugs know how to get it out of their system before they're scheduled to have the test.
are you suspicious of some township employees that you feel like we need to do that soon?
I just feel like it needs to be a policy.
okay, so
I think it is part of the policy is
random drug testing.
random drug testing part of it.
Basically, only
Is
if
that-
there's an incident involving an employee. So that could be addressed on the October 17th meeting.
People who do drugs.
Well,
from
she
what I
made
understand,
she made a
can
motion.
Manipulate the system.
So basically, the motion would be for random, for the township to adopt a policy of random drug test.
Random drug testing of all employees?
Yeah,
That's a terrible policy in a state where marijuana is legal.
in this day and age, you don't know who's
You
doing
have a
drugs.
good policy, in my opinion. If you catch them using on the job, you fire them, period.
That's not what's
Employer,
happening here.
okay, so what you've done, I applaud you for what you're doing here, bullshit, okay?
There is,
Someone else
yeah.
with them, this is almost like a quid pro quo, well, you're gonna do this, so we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna do random drug testing for everybody.
Oh.
That makes no sense, you have no budget for it, there needs to be a program in a state where marijuana.
That's why I would recommend we look into this and basically,
So, Ms. Childs made a motion. Is there a second?
do I have a sec?
Yeah. Yeah, so I second that motion.
The reasoning is this day and age, you don't know who's doing it. We could have an employee that does it, and you schedule a test a week out, and you do not know. Because they can.
I don't know the legality of board members though, because you can't fire a board member.
All
So,
you can do is offer counseling.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I think that it'd be according to the policy, that would be the first step, right, for anybody?
I'm surprised it's a federal policy, actually. Oh my gosh.
All right, are we done discussing? Are we gonna vote on this?
What is the motion?
Motion by Childs to implement random drug testing of all employees.
And that would include officials, according to.
Which I don't know if we can,
What reason?
The
I know.
federal
Yeah.
policy says employees and officials.
for,
instance, if,
If what's good for one is good for all.
No,
Yeah, you're conflating it too, sir. You have a good, don't fix something that's not broken. If they have an accident, you drug test them.
Wait, I understand,
If you find drugs in a township vehicle, and your policy is to do drug testing, you do it. If you don't do it and they hurt themselves, they're gonna come back and sue you because you didn't do your job.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, so you have a system that works, say, don't
Okay,
fix something that's not broken.
but we're firing someone on the basis of this.
You're
What
following
was
your
it?
policy.
we didn't
did
fire
I hear
anybody.
anybody fire
You know what,
anybody?
you don't have to fire him, you can say, okay, we're gonna suspend you, and then you're gonna have to agree to random drug testing for the next year. But if you agree to that, your employment is conditioned.
And if this is a medical, he's being treated for a medical condition, what do you do?
Then it should be, if he's not using it on the job, then it
Exactly.
shouldn't apply. However, you had a situation and you dealt with a situation, move on.
Right,
The only way we knew was because the drug test, which, and it showed up marijuana, which is legal in Michigan.
It is, and it stays in your system for 30
And
days.
that's the only reason.
And we were
So-
not notified in advance that there
Anyway,
was a
we have a
medical
motion on
charge.
You
the
didn't
table.
ask. So this policy didn't affect him then.
We have
It's now you're doing.
We're not supposed to ask, they're supposed to tell us.
a motion on.
Anything in the application?
I don't think, as far as discussion goes, I don't think,
All right,
this is something that needs to be dealt with today.
no, motion to implement random drug testing of all employees, seconded by Keys. Roll call vote, Joanne Childs,
Yes.
Albert Keys. Greg Bradley.
yes,
Tom Backers
No,
and Johnson. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna say yes. I think it's part of the policy already, but it's official now.
okay, random drug.
And who defines random? And who's in charge of making sure that happens?
That'd be the next story.
okay. What you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to hire a firm. Okay, And then the sheriff says, okay, that's all what he can do, we've been down this road before.
And
And they'll call
basically,
over the office every day.
and basically they.
Okay.
The way the military did it was, basically they. Randomly select the last digit of social security number. And if that happens to be yours. You go down and take a drug test.
It's just what'll happen is. You'll tell them who's in the office and they'll run those through the computer will kick them out, so. The girls in the office might be making a continual trip to the hospital to be drug tested, because they're the ones that's available. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, you gotta have a program, a policy, a budget before you implement this kind of stuff, folks.
Exactly, that was my problem.
This is a lot more complicated than it sounds.
Yes. Anyway, it's done. Moving on.
Which means now we have to figure out how to do it or repeal it later.
Okay, the L 4029 is next. Yes, ma'am.
There will be a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Apparently so. All employees.
Employees and officials.
Actually, I'm gonna need to find another.
In
the state.
Advisory board, don't care.
Right.
They draw us per diem for meeting on it.
Sorry, it's still.
They're just-
That means all committee chairs that are paid by the township are included.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the L 4029, the taxable value on the one that we approved at our last board meeting was 178, 331, 832, and it should have been 173, not 178, 831 instead of 331, and 832 instead of, or no, 332 instead of 8. She mixed numbers.
What it was is she included the DNR property
Oh, okay.
in the original.
Swamp Act.
So she had to subtract that, back it out.
So a taxable value.
So the actual taxable value is 173, 831, 332.
Motion
And-
to approve the L 4029 as amended.
Ready to go to work.
Does that have to be a roll call vote again?
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
it's our millages, gotta put it on record.
Okay. 4029 as amended. Second by Keys. All right, Greg Bradley,
Yes.
Dwayne Childs,
I'm sorry, lost track of what you said.
motion to approve the L 4029. Johnson, yes. And Beckers,
Yes.
I already turned it into the county, so
Get you.
they have
Yeah.
our, site. It was due. They had to have it by September 30th.
Signed.
It's already signed.
Yeah.
We already signed it and sent it in.
Okay, public comment for anybody that's left,
Quick comment.
Or on anything.
anything.
I think.
Oh.
I'm new, I graduated from Cowcasset High School, went in the army for 30 years, came back, and we moved my whole family back, and. And I say that as an intro because I've never been in one of the meetings before, but, I looked at your short-term rental ordinance, I'm real good friends with Ryan, and we went through it together. I think you've done a great job, I think you got a good program here. And there needs to be some degree, in my opinion, of regulation that governs short-term rentals. And I think I applaud you for your initiative. So hopefully it will, you've been working on this for 2 years. God bless you. This is, what you're doing though, I think is good for the township.
You try anyway.
Appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other public comment, Mr. LePew?
I think you guys are way off on that marijuana policy.
Mhm.
You're not looking at current law. laws and your insurance guy, I've never heard or written or read anywhere where it said he was uninsurable. You've said that a bunch of times. That is not anywhere written. That's your opinion.
Mhm.
And I want to point out one other thing too, is that is
I
if he decides to.
I can-
sue,
I
you're
can-
still
I can send you
responsible
the
for 6
email
months
with
after
his
you leave your
response.
office. After you leave your office, you're still responsible for 6 months if he decides to sue you. So just want to point that out to you. I mean, you're pulling things out of thin air, saying them, and they're not true.
I talked to the insurance man too, and he never told me that.
Fine.
Also, so when I read what you wrote, it was like, that's not what he said to me. But I didn't write down what he said to me, so that's my question, but I've got a public comment. This was posted. Clearwater Township residents, the investigation in Clearwater Town in the Heritage Park Maintenance Building, break-in and theft was finally completed in July. The results of the investigation by the Kalkaska Sheriff's Office and Michigan State Police resulted in no arrest or charges being filed to date. The investigation has been closed. A day before I saw this, I followed up with Officer Sloan Wolowski. I had texted him, Joe and I had met him a year ago at the pavilion. And he finally got back to me at 8:30 on Wednesday night. I found this the day after. It was posted by Mr. Backers. The investigation determined that there was no involvement by Clearwater Township maintenance personnel in the incident. Mr. John Bielski and Mr. Craig Van Loon have been cleared of any connection with the theft of township property on or about July 23rd, 23. This notice serves as public acknowledgement of these facts. The board didn't vote on this. Where did this come from?
I know that.
And I called it, before I saw this, I sent for a FOIA from the sheriff's department. What I got was the break-in, which happened a couple days after the meeting, which was the illegal meeting. The only ones that were there was the two maintenance men and you. And then who gave us the list of all the stuff that was stolen? The maintenance man. And he was then suspended. So my whole question is, I called at 8:30 on Wednesday night. I found this the day after Angie gave it to me. The officer called me and he said, I'm on night duty, but please call me. He is still investigating. That is not through. That same day, earlier, I went to Padnos to find out our parks, the front of our parks pavilion, we have a DNR plaque that we're supposed to keep up there from the grant that we got. And that was stolen, that was taken down. That's been up there since the early 2000s. How all of a sudden did that disappear? I talked to Sue from Padnos when this all happened. I called down there, she's head over the whole thing and she's where are you dealing with? And I said, Traverse City. And she said, there's something here that looks like that, but the whole front's been scraped off. And so I gave that information to this officer and Joe was there. And there's other things that I found out from him, the theft of the gas, the video that we have with an eyewitness and that. I thought the state police was investigating it. And then he tells me, no, that was the county sheriff. There's no reports from the county sheriff. The only one I had got from the county sheriff on the FOIA is you, the two guys, and the two maintenance guys. There's no information on the substance that was found in the maintenance truck that Joe found when he was spending his free time doing inventory of all the equipment, which had never been inventoried before. The whole thing stinks. There's something going on. The investigation needs to be completed. We don't need to tell the public it's done. I guarantee the
That's what I
officer
was
said he's
told.
gonna continue working. Who told you?
He handed me the investigation, the police report.
Investigation doesn't say we were doing.
That's what I turned into the insurance company. Basically, I called the sheriff. There were no charges filed.
Now we're hearing, just talking to Craig, some of the stuff that supposedly was stolen, he said was never in the building.
Well, actually,
Our current maintenance guy.
Mr. Backers' own testimony that day through emails stated nothing else was missing. but the videotape recorder and that, so in his own statement, everything was there. But obviously it wasn't.
But we have receipts,
Are you done with your public comment?
huh?
You done?
No, I was just gonna say, we have receipts of multiple things being purchased by our maintenance. And according to one maintenance guy, they never showed up in the building. So I don't believe we can say this case is
All
closed.
all that should have been done through the interviews. Okay, no charges were filed. I checked with the sheriff's department. I didn't contact Mr. Kovaleski.
There's not even a lab. There's not even a lab that can be presented. I've called several times. I asked Joe for the date of that substance that Joe found in the maintenance truck underneath papers in the glove compartment. Someone, and I don't believe that someone just picked it up off the park and put it there and hid it under there. I just, there needs to be more investigation, and I don't think we can just say it's closed.
Are you done with your?
I am done.
I make a motion, we don't go into closed session. Disciplinary action.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a second?
You're all volunteers.
Yes.
All the thing, you guys volunteer.
They're not volunteers, they're all paid.
Oh, you are paid.
So that's why we're trying so hard to get right.
Yeah.
You're Jim LaFew.
Yes, sir.
I hope you didn't like it, then. Or re-elected, I should say. Thanks for what you all do.
Okay.
Motion by
We'll
Albert
recess.
Keys to move into closed session. Do we have a second? I will second that. Are we recessing before closed session?
Well, recess. At. I've got 10:05.
Okay.
Okay,
Let me mute this.
We need a roll call vote.
Oh, yes, sorry.
roll call vote.
Roll call vote to move into closed session after recess. Bradley,
Yeah.
Keys, Backers,
Yes.
Childs. Johnson, yes.
All right, 10-minute recess, reconvene at 10:15.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop this recording because we will be done after.